Hey everyone, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're zooming in, literally, on a miniature aquatic ecosystem. We're not talking about vast oceans or some massive commercial breeding facility here. Nope, we are shrinking our focus way down to a single tank, a single pair of fish, and one hobbyist's incredibly detailed daily journal. It's kind of amazing just how much science, patience, and absolute natural wonder you can capture in a simple fish-keeping log, as you'll see in just a bit.
So, we're dropping right into the middle of this journal by an author named Ang. And look, the fact that this is part 302 pretty much tells us everything we need to know, right? This isn't just some passing phase, it's a super dedicated long-term practice of observation. By kicking things off with Dear Interweb, Ang is basically pulling us into a story that's already in motion. It's a great reminder that when we observe nature, even sitting in our living room looking at an aquarium, we're always jumping into a constantly unfolding narrative. It totally sets the stage for the specific breeding evaluation we're about to unpack.
Okay, let's formally introduce the stars of our micro-documentary, the Kribensis Cichlid, or if we want to get scientific for a second, pelvicachromis-pulcher. Since they're a type of dwarf cichlid, they're pretty small, but man, their behaviors are incredibly complex. Ang isn't just keeping these fish because they look cool. There's a very specific goal here. They're being actively observed and evaluated for breeding behavior. That framing changes everything. Literally every little movement, every color shift, every single grain of sand they move around. It all becomes a crucial data point in this evaluation.
Now you might be wondering, what makes this specific evaluation so compelling? Well, it's the relatability of the subjects. Ang actually suspects this pair came from a quote-unquote rejected batch. So we're not talking about expensive, flawless showfish here. They were chosen specifically because they were affordable. But honestly, I love that, because it proves a fundamental point about biology. The intrinsic instincts of life, to settle down, to bond, to reproduce, those aren't just reserved for the flawless or the pricey. That absolute drive for life exists right there in the underdog fish from the local pet store.
All right, so getting into the evaluation itself, the environment is absolutely key. Ang's tank is set up with this fine construction sand and some coral substrates. And almost right away, the male fish just gets to work. He starts digging. This isn't just him randomly swimming around. He is purposefully manipulating his environment. He's actively interacting with that fine sand, totally modifying the terrain. Just this one journal entry paints such a vivid picture of a fish claiming his space and putting in the hard work to prepare territory.
But here's where we see a really fascinating behavioral quirk. As humans, we often put structures in a tank that we think the fish will use, like a terracotta pot that's supposed to be an artificial cave. Well, the male does occasionally check out the inside, but Ang observes that he actually prefers to hang out and dig a massive area of fine sand right next to the side of the pot rather than actually going inside it. It's just a fantastic reminder that sure, we can set the stage, but these animals are always going to act according to their own natural logic.
So, with the territory all set up, our unhurried observation shifts focus straight to the fish themselves. The environment's ready, and now the relationship between these two is really starting to progress. The journal notes some fascinating visual cues that prove something big is happening. Because, behavior is one thing, but when you start seeing actual physical, biological changes, that takes the evaluation to a completely different level.
And the evidence here is literally undeniable. A vibrant magenta color starts emerging right from the bellies of both fish. In the world of the Kribensis Cichlid, they obviously don't have words to say, hey, I'm ready to settle down, so biology does the talking for them. This bright magenta is exactly the kind of empirical data Ang has been waiting for. It acts as this vivid signal confirming the pair is settling in, they're comfortable in the environment, and most importantly, they're bonding with each other. It's a beautiful intersection of natural biology and observable data.
Spotting this magenta evidence of bonding is a total game changer, and it instantly triggers the next phase of the evaluation. Up until now, Ang has been playing the role of the passive observer, just watching the digging and the color changes. But hey, fish keeping usually requires some active management eventually. So Ang writes, let's see how this pair will fare in the coming days, and pivots to a new strategy involving a higher grade of fish pellet. This marks a shift from just watching natural instincts to actively stepping in to help push this whole process over the finish line.
And here is that deliberate three-step game plan to prepare the female for spawning. First up, upgrade the fuel. Switching to a higher grade of fish pellet ensures they're getting top-tier nutrition. Step 2, focus heavily on the female, feeding her as much as possible. Step 3 is the end result, making sure she is physically conditioned and absolutely ready to produce eggs. This perfectly lays out that calculated, almost scientific approach hobbyists take, right? The environment is dialed in, the behavioral bonding is confirmed, so now it's all about maximizing that nutritional foundation to ensure success.
So let's recap. We've watched the male meticulously dig out that fine sand. We've seen the undeniable magenta proof that these two are bonding. And we've just gone through Ang's strategic dietary game plan. But the real question, the one we're all wondering, is this. Will this affordable, underdog, rejected batch pair actually defy expectations and successfully breed in the days to come? Honestly, it makes you realize just how much drama, suspense, and wonder can happen quietly inside the glass walls of a living room aquarium. So what do you think will ultimately be the most critical factor in their success? The perfectly built environment they naturally crafted, or the precise human intervention guiding them along the way?